The Business Journal Roundtable Series is sponsored by iSynergy, creative digital advertising.
What is the metaverse? Is it a buzzword for virtual reality? And what is virtual reality? How does it work? Is augmented reality more likely to be the killer app? And where is all of this headed in terms of applications for businesses of all size? Big question. Who wants to start?
I'm going to take Ralph's point that he made earlier and use it as a jumping off point, because he made a point that Second Life has been around for 30 years and it's not a real big deal. And I said the exact same thing to somebody maybe 2 weeks ago. I was thinking about it this morning, trying to figure out who I was talking to. But I think to answer the first question, and this is not exactly my area of expertise, but it's come up quite a bit recently. The metaverse is a virtual reality platform. It's just Meta's or Facebook's version of it. It's like saying, is a Marriott a hotel? I think there's a couple of problems with this, and I personally consider the metaverse to be a flop. I think that's probably what most people would agree with. But there's a couple of problems with it. There's the cost of adoption and the barrier to entry in getting involved. Teams does essentially the same thing that a couple of years ago we were looking at the metaverse to be able to solve, which was how do you get people together in a collaborative way? So Teams, Zoom, all of these kind of platforms that handle collaboration and communication do that a lot easier with technology that people already kind of understand, and there's not this huge barrier to entry on it. You don't have to buy a VR headset. You don't have to have a super advanced computer. So I think that barrier to entry needs to come way down. I think it needs to become a little bit more accessible to people. And I think the virtual reality space that we're talking about needs to go way up in terms of quality, technology, design. The metaverse is essentially what I would consider a low poly environment, or something that's very rough around the edges. So think of the applications of something like that. Like, let's say you want to show a house in virtual reality. We're a long way from being able to get that level of detail and resolution and realism from the platforms that we have today. So I think those are the challenges that need to be addressed before this becomes a little bit more widely adopted. And I think it has to not be a cash grab. Like, the metaverse was pretty obviously, a marketplace, and that's where they tried to steer it. So I think companies need to take a slightly different approach to get people to be interested in it.
I think if you don't believe that the concept of the metaverse is here to stay, you're outside of your mind.
No, I didn't say that.
I think that, this is one of those challenges here locally. Again, talk to any kid, any elementary school kid, any grade school kid, and ask them if they play Roblox,
Minecraft,
the Roblox and Minecraft and all these different platforms that are occupying this quote-unquote metaverse space. Is this virtual reality space where you can go and you can interact with people. It's very difficult for us in the United States to truly understand and appreciate the value of something like the metaverse, because we have a beautiful place to live, and we're not living on top of one another, and we have access to resources that many other third world countries don't have. But if you give kids in India the opportunity to walk away from the uncomfortable living conditions of living on top of one another, or in another part of the world where they don't have access to the same resources that we do, and they can hop into this metaverse in the Roblox and any of those other platforms and live a different life, that's a game changer. And that's something that the more and more people truly realize, that we got to step away from just this tiny little sliver of what we see here in the United States. These platforms are here to stay. I mean, the same would have been said when I was growing up with the beginning of AOL and Google and the beginning of the internet.
It's video games.
It's the same idea. So I think that the faster that people start to look at it, play with it, ask their kids about it, ask their kids to explain it to them, play video games with your kids and grandkids, you're going to start to see some of the validity of those platforms and how you could potentially integrate it into your businesses one day. We're still a ways away, but if we continue down this same path of evolution that we've gone through in the last 2 years, over the next 10 and or 20, we'll be there before anybody knows it. So I think that you just have to look at it from a different opinion, is that ask the kids, ask their grandkids, and play around with the technology, and you'll see quickly.
Oh God, I'm old.
Sorry about that.
The Business Journal Roundtable Series is sponsored by iSynergy, creative digital advertising.